Commercial drone market is expected to reach 54.6 billion by 2030. Today, there are tons of businesses using drones for multiple different reasons, whether that's for taking pictures of real estate listings or thousands flying over New Jersey. Our guest today is going to tell you how to start a business by using drone photography. Kyle Jennings.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be on, guys. Starting a business, like using drones, I think, the phrase that comes into my head is like the world is your oyster, right? Whether you want to be a little bit more cinematic with it, you want to use it for like land scanning, agriculture, stuff like that. Just kind of like getting the basics of everything really starts the whole journey for you. For myself, so I used to work in like real estate, like marketing, like downtown, and that's where I really got my clientele. So I took basically all my connections from there, and I was doing like drone videos for them, and that's kind of like where I found the passion, and like I was like, oh shit, can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I didn't know if you like didn't want anything like that.
Oh no, we let it fly.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh shit, like this looks really sweet. Like from up here, got a lot of different vantage points, really, really cool views. So basically the whole way that I started the business was just doing these like drone aerial videos for these like real estate agents. A couple $100 here and there. And then after a while I was like, oh, like people actually like really want this, and like it's supplemental for their listing. Because photos do one thing, but video just says, something else,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's just kind of where the whole journey started.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, here we are.
Yeah. It's crazy. Probably up until I don't know, a couple years ago, like we probably hadn't really talked that much.
Yeah.
Like there's the story of me walking through South Oakland and then you shouting me out from your porch.
I do. I can picture that right now.
So can I.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I mean, we played against each other like in we were like 17, 18 club soccer.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we both went to Pitt. I was walking through South Oakland on a weekend and I was with one of my teammates, and I hear from like this porch in the distance, like, yo, did you play for Allegheny Force? And I was like, who the fuck? And I turned and it was him. And I was like, I haven't seen this guy in like 3 years. And then from there I was like, oh. And then I realized that Keaton was your brother. And like, because I knew you both separately.
Yeah,
and
my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Isn't that crazy? But so then I don't think I knew, like I didn't realize that you had your own business until, probably when you were like a Marshall Fitness client, and then from there, now it's like I see it all the time, because like I follow the Instagram, I follow the Facebook, and the photography, like that's the thing that blows my mind a lot of the time with like drones and their capabilities is like how sharp those cameras are.
Oh yeah.
Like I would think, because obviously they're very like high tech pieces of equipment, but in my mind, I'd be like, okay, well, like I feel like they're gonna put all the R&D into the fact that it's this like little thing that can zip around, not necessarily into the camera as well.
Right.
Well, yeah, and like I think that was like kind of company dependent. That's why like looking at kind of like what you say about the camera capability and like how good that looks was really prominent on like DJI, especially when they first started, like how like, oh, they have a gimbal on their camera and they're shooting 4K. Granted, it was maybe a little grainy, but like they were starting to dominate pretty early. And then, like some of the older drones too were like really big and had basically an actual camera lens with a sensor that was bigger and it like made more sense. But my God, it was like flying something this big with no licenses yet. And it was like damn near expensive and sketchy. But then like smaller drones came out and that was like, that's probably what you had, right? Like some DJI or something like that.
Yeah, the first one I ever
got.
So the first one I ever got was a Phantom 4. So it was probably like this big. It's like probably like 3 carton of eggs, wide. But that's kind of like where I started, and then from there, I just kind of like engaged myself in the community and like doing more special projects. I was like, oh, like that's where I'm at now. But then I saw like the capability of like there's a drone called the Inspire, the Mavic series, just a lot more clarity, sharpness, like with the sensor. The Inspire is what we use now, and you can actually like change the lenses on them too, which is pretty cool. So we use like the 50, We use a 16, which is pretty wide. So they've come a long way. So it's just pretty eye opening.
There's a what is it? You have to have some like license to fly drones, right?
Yeah, Part 107.
And is that just for like? I mean, if I had one and I was just like at my house flying it around, like, I don't. You can still fly a drone. I mean, obviously, like, within reason.
Yeah, I mean, within reason. I mean, there's with every classification, there's always like gray area and stuff like that. Not that I'm like putting a storm cloud over my head or anything like that, but if you're flying it like recreationally, you don't really need a license. But if you're really trying to make money, trying to do it commercially, they basically require you, and like the FAA, they basically require you to get the 107 license, which is basically just the FAA just like kind of testing you on, hey, here's the height that you should go, here's the classifications that you should be looking for, here's stuff to do, not to do, stuff like that. Like, don't fly over traffic, don't fly over people, don't fly into like different classes of airspace, stuff like that. So there's a lot that goes into it, but if you're just flying like recreationally, you're pretty much good to go. But just like, don't be stupid with it.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people are doing like on Instagram, and this is just a crazy tangent. I don't know if you guys like watch the Pirate or like Penguins games.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Sportsnet Pittsburgh, like with their like their broadcast, they do like shots of the city and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was a couple shots that was used for the Pirates broadcast this like past summer, and I don't know where they got these shots. I don't know where they got this dude from, but he was literally like flying like an FPV drone, like in and out of traffic, like right over the car, and they're like airing it on TV. I was like, what? Like, excuse my French, but like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
yeah, that seems crazy.
Like, number one, it's dangerous, and number two, like, Joe Schmo is gonna get a drone and be like, oh shit, like I'm gonna like try to redo that, you know what I mean? And it's just, it'll end up on Reddit, it'll end up on Facebook, and like, who knows who's gonna see it from there? But it's just, drones are so cool, but you have to do your due diligence. Yeah, and you got to be safe with it.
It seems very slippery.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, because you see everything. I mean, obviously they're used for a multitude of reasons across the world,
right.
And they're so mobile, and like, they're detectable, obviously, to an extent, but flying into like airspace and stuff, like, it's not like there's like boundaries that are clear,
right?
Like, I think you're gonna know when you're close, but it's a lot to think about.
Oh, for sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, like a lot of apps do tell you where the airspaces are, because like I know like around Pittsburgh, from what I believe is pretty complicated with the airport's not in the city, but there's areas where, because of the hospitals, right, like there's some areas where there's helicopters that come in and out. So like I know most of them have apps where it'll say where you're at, how high you can go, because I was blocked on doing, like, I was flying one time and it like stopped me like at 10 feet and it's like, you can't fly here. And I was like, what am I even near? Like, I couldn't even figure it out. I was like, I had to check the app, and I checked online, and I was like, I was in some airspace and I just didn't even know.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff, especially like if you use like the DJI app, it'll give you like an alert, or it'll like kind of like vibrate on your controller or something like that, and say like, hey, like this area is like not so hot, so is what I like to call it. But it'll give you like a warning to say like, hey, like closed airspace, or like warning space, stuff like that. Like stuff like helicopters or like hospital pads, stuff like that. Those, I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think they like stop you from like flying over there. I think you just need to be like cognizant of like, hey, this is what I'm getting into right now. But like airports and stuff like that, like Army stuff, anything that's like government related, such as Army, Navy, anything airport, that'll basically say like, it's basically like a fence. Oh, so it's kind of like the invisible dog thing. So it's like you can't see it, but like you're not getting out. Or like you're not getting more.
Well, it's like a geo fence on like
pretty much
Snapchat, right?
Yeah.
Like the geo filters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it's just not going to go past that point. What would happen if, like, would it just like, would the drone just return back to you?
Well, so it's one of two things. Either, if you're kind of like caught in that area, like they could, like the FAA would basically get an alert to say that, hey, we've got some stuff that's like not happening that or that is happening that shouldn't be.
Right.
And what they could do is basically like intercept the signal and just land it. But more than likely it'll just basically return to home to you.
Okay.
With like a little slap on your wrist.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was listening to the Sean Ryan podcast like the other day, and he had somebody that the owner of a company called Epirus, and this guy makes EMP technology that takes down drones without using like a missile.
We need that.
Like it shoots like I mean, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it shoots like an ability to take down a drone, like, and you can target it without taking it down with like something that will explode, cause like a combustion. You can like shoot down a drone that way. And I guess I don't know the details of it because like I don't work in this space, but I guess what's nice about it is, unlike shooting it down with like a lot of missiles, which are dangerous and cost a lot of money for the government and contractors, it has this, you know, pulsating device that can shoot out and they can target it and they can like redo it like over and over again. So you can take down like swarms, which is really, really crazy. So I wonder, mixing like drone technology and like that, I mean, that's obviously a future of like, you know, more than just using it casually.
Yeah.
Because this is like, drones are becoming, you know, pretty just advanced and implementing them with AI and other countries.
They
like,
scare
I
the hell
really
out of me,
wonder
I'm gonna
what
be
happens.
honest. Yeah, I think they're terrifying. I mean,
Well,
just the capabilities of them.
Let me show you what I've got in my pocket.
He just flies it up.
If they made them that small, imagine,
Yeah.
that'd be even worse.
They do. Well, I mean, they do.
They do. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, like if it's like this big in your hand, it's more likely going to be like a toy or something like that. But, you know, like, have you ever seen like the FPV drones? So FPV is probably like fit in your hand like that. So that can be used for a multitude of different reasons, but yeah, they get pretty little.
So like explain those to people, because I watched some FPV drone footage for the first time last year, maybe the year before last, and I actually got a hold of some at work. So I was asking like some of the people that I work with. I was like, hey, like I need some drone footage of, you know, this area of Pittsburgh, and they did have some FPV stuff. And I was like, man, it's just wicked to watch. Like it's so cool. But explain what it is so people understand the difference between regular drone work, but FPV being kind of separate and
Yeah,
all
I
aspects
didn't know
to
there
it.
was a difference actually. I mean, I'd never even heard that before. So
Oh, no?
if that's
Okay.
like a classification.
Yeah. So FPV, you know, just basically just first person drone, right? So first person view is basically like what you see out of the drone. So there's really no gimbal kind of like, you know, balancing you out. It's like what you see is kind of like what you get, right? So imagine like it's basically like you're a bird kind of just like flying through the air. So they're a lot quicker. They're a lot more aerodynamic. You know, you can do a lot more with those that you really can't do with like the cinematic drones, like the photo video kind of things. And I think they're made to do more of like the creative flying, like through like little spaces, like through, I'm sure you've probably seen, there was a really viral one that went pretty crazy, like the Duke training gym. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Where they there's like a guy doing like the bench press and it like goes through the bench press.
Yeah.
So, like the drone is literally like probably like the size of my hands, if not smaller. But the FPV is basically just, I mean, it's still drone footage at the end of the day, but it's a lot more freehand, like just more skilled, if that makes sense. Like more than likely, like a 10 to 12-year-old could probably fly like a photo video drone, like that I use.
Are you
for
wearing a headset for a FPV drone?
Yeah.
So you're like that's like a virtual reality thing, like.
Yeah, I look like a goof.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've got these like bug glasses on me, and like who knows what's happening like around my head, because like I don't know.
Yeah, you're not there.
Yeah, it's not like the Meta VR thing where you can like see shit, like if it comes into you, like the drone FPV, it's like you are the drone. Yeah, you have nothing, and there's like nothing that'll come through to you. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah. So you've done you've done those types of videos with houses, right?
Yeah.
Like with like flying through the house and stuff. And so like that's what you're using when you do that?
Yeah. So the FPV is definitely used for that. I mean, you could use like the Mavic series if you really wanted to. You could probably do it, but it would probably take you a lot more. And there's probably a more high chance that you're gonna like crash it or like hit something inside the house. A lot of the FPV drones have like prop guards, so that's also another reason that people fly them inside. So, you know, if there's a crash or if there's something that they bump on the wall, it's not going to injure it. It's not going to hit, you know, the wall. It's not going to injure the drone, stuff like that. So, yeah, so there's a lot of stuff you can do with it, but I think the craziest thing is a lot of people will fly it like in full manual mode. So like if you're used to like playing like video games, stuff like that, like you use your two thumbs like this, right? When people are flying like the FPV drones, they will grab both sticks and go like this. It's bonkers to me. Like I've never done it like that, but if you search like FPV, you know, drone footage and like you see like the controller on there, people literally use two fingers.
That's not the way I would think to do it.
Yeah, it's bonkers to me. Like I've tried it and it's just, it feels so like, I don't know, just weird to me.
So like that's strange because on like the cinematic drones, like I've flown them a decent amount and like I can imagine in my head right now, like panning to the left and you're wanting to circle around something and you're dropping the gimbal and it's left, down left, and you're pulling this trigger down to like drop the gimbal at the same time. You just like hold it slowly, you just go and just like slowly could go into it. But an FPV drone really, with just the eye view, it's really just these two, right?
Yep.
I mean, it is those two because I've never flown that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I guess, I mean, if you got really good at this, I guess it makes sense that you'd be better than just your thumbs. But like, oh my God, that's like,
yeah. Well, so
I want to try it out and be like, let me just test those out and just like wreck the shit out of my drone.
Yeah. Well, so the craziest part about like FPV is it's full manual mode. So the left will keep you elevated, right? Like it's not just gonna float. So this one will keep you up, and then this one will, you know, pull you like directionally. So if you want to basically shoot down, let go of the left stick, push this one forward, that'll like make you like nosedive, stuff like that. So it's a whole new world other than like the cinematic drones.
So then like manual versus whatever the other mode would be, like, so then does that mean that it's just in the air?
What's that? Like the
like, I mean, like when you say manual, like obviously like you were in full control of the drone, but then like what's the alternative to driving it in manual? Like is that's like the default for most drones?
Yeah. So for FPV, you know, I mean, there have been some consumer drones. Like I have a couple of consumer drones, like FPV, like by DJI. It's called the Avata, and you can basically fly it like, I guess like autopilot mode, where you don't have to like actually keep the drone up in the air, which is nice. But if you're flying it full manually, like you have to like keep it in the air like the entire time. It's basically like, it's kind of a stupid you know, analogy, but it's like if you stop pedaling the bike, it's going to slow down.
Yeah, sure.
So basically if you if you pull your finger off of that left joystick, it's going to go to the ground. So yeah, it's a crazy experience.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like obviously they've got to be like accessible in terms of learning how to like fly them, you know, because obviously everyone does it. You know, like, I mean, how popular they are. But I mean, I've seen some of the videos you guys put out, and I'm like just whipping around these corners and stuff, and I'm like, that's in somebody's house. Like you've got to have so much confidence behind the controls to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like how long did that take to figure out, like how to fly it in that, like just that specific of a way?
Yeah, I think I really mastered you know, drone flying probably like 2 or 3 years like into it, like fully. You know, but the FPV is like a whole new ball game when it comes to, you know, the turns, just the way that the drone moves, you know, inside a house, outside a house, you know, around the city, over water, stuff like that. So FPV is, I don't know, it's like a whole new animal basically. So I guess I would say I'm still learning like every day, just trying to get better with the FPV stuff. But it took a good solid couple months to like really find the transition to like find the best capability for that.
Would you say it's harder to fly one of those than it is the non like
for sure
first person?
Really? For sure. Yeah, you could fly the cinematic drone 100%.
See, I would think the first person one would be easier because like you're like in it,
right?
You know, but looking at a screen, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a video game either way.
Right. Yeah. It's basically like you have a much more smooth experience with like the cinematic one, because there's the gimbal. Kind of makes you feel a little bit more like relaxed, I'll say. The FPV one is like, it's a little bit shaky. It's a lot quicker. Every slight little movement will just jerk it around, so you have to be really precise. It's a journey.
Yeah, sounds like it. So with your business, Steel City Visuals. So, I mean, we talked about the drone footage through, listings and stuff like that. But like, what else do you guys cover? Like, I mean, who are you working with the most? Who are you marketing to? Like, what are you offering to them?
Sure. Yeah. So I'd say our big clientele is definitely real estate. But that's not to say that it's just for listings. So like some of the stuff that people have asked for, in like the real estate field is like either, neighborhood video, city video, anything that they can use like as like a supplement for, websites, anything for like evergreen marketing. So it's like you post it in January, you post it in October, it looks the same, right? So there's a lot of stuff that we've been asked for, just like ongoing marketing, stuff like that. So anything that feels and like looks high quality, I feel like returns a good return on investment for like a appearance standpoint.
Sure.
So that's pretty much like the whole spectrum of everything. But then that doesn't limit us to like the corporate stuff we've done. We do a lot of stuff with the Pittsburgh Coca-Cola around here, doing a lot of their like their truck installs, the warehouses they have. So there's a whole bunch you can do with it.
Yeah. So you're doing, I mean, so if you're the drone footage, but then you also have just like, standard photo video, right, of listings and stuff. And I've seen that. So, I mean, I've also seen I've seen the photos that I don't know if is that a part of Steel City Visuals also? Is that just what you do? Like the photos that like the ones that are like between the bridges, like in these, of like PNC Park, through the bridges. Like, is that you, or is that also, I mean, I guess it is both.
I guess it's a little bit of both, right? Yeah. I mean, I always tell people like, if I'm bored or if I'm not like, playing Xbox or working out, doing whatever, anything to better myself, I'll just kind of go fly the drone and see if I can kind of frame something up cool. I've been a really big fan of like framing things inside of other things. Like probably you've seen like the bridge inside the bridge.
I know exactly. Yeah. That's the one I thought of right away.
Yeah. So I've been a real big fan of that. It's cool to see the city in like a new perspective when you can like frame things around it. So
yeah, you're competing with Dave.
Yeah, he keeps copying all my ideas, and he has more followers, so no one knows they're my ideas, but it's all good.
So with your business, like what has been some of the hurdles that you had, especially starting with drone work? Like what's been the biggest challenges?
That's a good question. I think the biggest challenge, I think it's kind of an easy answer. Is just people that have come into the industry and like the market, and they're just undervaluing like the entire service. So like, let's say like if we're going to be charging like $200 for like a visit or something like that, just for like a quick little like photo set, 10, 20 photos, whatever. If somebody's charging like $49 for that, I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like it like pains me, and I'm like in the back of my head, I like want to reach out to these people and be like, guys, like you're killing me here.
Yeah.
Like, and you're going to just like hurt the entire market if you're going to be doing that to
drives
yourself.
Everybody down.
Yeah. So I think like selfishly, that's probably like the biggest hurdle, because it's like, what it should be worth. And like, you never want to discount like good quality. Right. So it's hard to see when people are just going for the quantity approach, which, some businesses that works. That's great. But if you're not going to be shooting, 9 to 5, like every single day, it hurts the people that aren't doing that. Right. So,
and like, I think to your point, like it's almost hard because like there's a group of people that maybe start that and they keep their prices low because they don't know what it's worth.
Sure.
And they're getting new. So they're like, well, I just need this client and I just need to build a portfolio, because that's what I did. Granted, when I did it, I wasn't even here in Pittsburgh. I was in a different area and there was like not a lot of competition. So it was like, hey man, I'm just trying to get some like stuff under my belt.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like that's one group. And then there's another group that's just like, they just don't seem to care because they don't do it full time. And I've done the full-time gig too, where I'm like, hey man, this is how I'm making a living.
Yeah.
And it's hard to not be like, it's hard to look at yourself and value it appropriately when you're brand new, because you're
for sure.
you're an imposter in it and you're like, I'm just learning. And you probably experience this every couple months, you will look back and be like, oh my God, the work I do this year is so much better than last year.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So now you can mark it up, but then you're still getting new people that are where you were 3 years ago. And, unfortunately, like the problem is like the client like doesn't see that. Like they don't see that. And they're like, well, this is just cheaper. And from them being a revenue perspective, they just want to pick what they can get first, even though long term they might be like, man, I kind of regret that,
Yeah, that's why I think, with our business and in every business, I'm sure you guys have known, like relationships are such a big thing. Whether it's like a little bit of outreach here and there, whether it's a phone call, an email, just saying, hey, checking in. I think the relationships that you build with people go a long way. And that's how you're able to maintain those prices, those expectations. Maybe we're able to charge like a little bit more than XYZ because we have that good relationship and the good outstanding like friendliness that we have with people.
Yeah.
So I think as business owners, you really don't think about that part until you really get into it, because it's like, oh, like I can do a bunch of cool shit, or like, like whatever service or whatever product you're doing, like if you're not interacting with your customers and your clientele, like they'll go to the next person like that.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a two-way street when it comes to like maintaining stuff, for sure.
Those soft skills, like it's always the complicated ground when you're doing something technical. You're like, well, I got to spend all my time getting clients, but really I got to also perfect my craft, because like there's always ways to learn how to get into media. There's traditional ways which seemingly kind of go to the wayside a little bit when you can pick up skill sets, and technical, proficiencies, but you can't ignore being a person and communicating with people. So it's funny because you got to spend your time doing both. You're like, I got to get good at my craft and I got to get good at speaking to people. I found that personally like really challenging because I was learning and also having to sell myself. I think soft skills came naturally for me. And I think for other people, it's probably the opposite, where they're like such good video people. God forbid you put them in front of talking to like a client.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, you do not know, like that guy is paying you. You can't just like throw out like craziness to him. Like at the end of the day, he's going to say, we might need to re-edit this, and you can't get offended and you can't get hurt. You just got to like roll with it. You got to meet him halfway, or learn how to explain like that there's a reason behind how the edit went, or how the visual looks. Like there is a little bit of a purpose to like figure that out, because that helps you sell. Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to a funny thing I just thought of. So our intern this year, Maddie, shout out Maddie. One of the things that I asked her was like, so hey, like in your time that you've been like working with us, like what is one thing that you have taken away the most? And she's like, honestly, the way that you guys like talk to clients and like handle problems and like problem solving like on the shoot goes a long way. Like, so we were doing a interview and like branding shoot, stuff like that for this interview or this agent team that we were doing a couple months ago. And I can't remember what the problem was, but basically she was just like, oh, I didn't know XYZ. And like I calmed her down. Everything was good. Kind of like put her headspace into like more of a like a calm state, if you will.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, it was just really cool to see like how you guys handled it. She was really happy at the end. You guys were hugging. You guys shook hands. Everyone was smiling. So it was like, yeah, I've learned a lot of cool camera stuff, but like just the way that you guys have like interacted with people and like kept them happy is like, that's the worth weight in gold.
Yeah.
So That made me feel good. Shout out Maddie. Thanks for
making you feel good.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, that stuff matters a ton. I mean, obviously, like it's because, I mean, I think you could find people skilled from the technical side, like pretty easily. But I mean, at the end of the day, if like you suck as a person, like people aren't going to want to deal with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, see you guys.
But no, going back to what we were talking about, like photography is like incredibly undervalued, like just across the board. And I mean, I think fitness is like that too. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say which one's more undervalued than the other, but like not being in photography myself, just like being on the outside looking in at different, I mean, like what you guys do, I know other people that do it. I mean, you've done it. Like you hear all these stories of people saying like, someone reaches out to a photographer about shooting their wedding and they give them this price that like, in my mind, just knowing what I know, like seems reasonable. And they're like, oh, I thought it was going to be like $500. It's like, there's so much more that's done.
Oh, dude. I used to get dinged hard being a video guy because I didn't do photography. Like I didn't sell that basically.
Sure.
Like I really liked all the things with video, and I shot a bunch of weddings like when I first started.
Nice.
And so it was always like trying to upsell to basically someone that paid for a photographer, and they like, we put that first in the budget, like venue, photographer, rest of the shit, video person. And they're like, well, we have like $400-$500 left over for video. I'm like, do you know how much harder video is
Sounds
than
like
photos?
you're not getting a video then,
For a wedding, because they'll pay like $3,000 for the photographer. They're like, we have this left over, and I'm like, you don't understand. I have to work with audio. Typically, one other video like it's practically impossible to shoot one just by yourself. It's almost.
Oh, I don't allow it. It's crazy.
I've done it once, and it was such a stressful nightmare because you can't miss anything.
Oh, it's insane. Well, I mean, imagine like, the ceremony starts, you set up your cameras, God forbid, like either someone bumps the camera, something happens with the card. Yeah. You're a one-man band at that point, trying to get your shot with the gimbal, whatever. You go back to the camera and you stop your record, and then it says start. Yeah. It's like, oh,
I'm throwing up, dude. Yeah, there's no way. Like
I had something happen to me, something like that. It was a couple years ago. I was shooting a wedding at I can't remember what the church is called, but it's right across from like the Mellon Institute.
St. Paul's Cathedral.
Yes.
I was just there for a wedding.
Well, then you'll be right.
I know
right.
exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so the middle aisle, right? So that's
massive church, by the way.
Yeah,
massive,
huge. So I had my main camera for like the first kiss and like the elopement and all that, whatever, right in the middle, and I don't know what happened, but as soon as the first kiss was happening, it was like I could like count down in my head. I was like, okay, we're like 30 seconds from the kiss. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Right before, it was like, all right, guys, I'd like to introduce the Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Camera dies. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I was like, so basically what I did was I was like, all right, I'm not going to panic. I am just going to imagine like that never happened. Switched out the battery, congratulated the couple. I was like, okay, hey guys, congrats. You guys look great. Everyone's having a great time. Sweet. Let's continue that, right? I was like, do you mind for the video if I get another angle of you kind of doing the kiss?
There we go.
And I got the priest involved. I was like, hey, like just so I have it for like a backup angle. They didn't think anything of it at the time, but I basically set them up. I basically had the priest do the same exact thing, and I was like, hey, just so we have a backup angle, can you just do this for me? I'm like, yeah, for sure, dude. And like it was
quick thinking.
Oh yeah, there. It was crazy. The priest got into it. He's like, now Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and then he's like, it's like, oh, thank God.
You're like, you just saved my life.
I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you, Father.
Wow.
Got on my knees and everything.
Well, it's because like you can't redo a live event like that.
Oh yeah.
That was the only way that you could have. And what's so funny is like you take a million photos and like unless you're physically holding the camera that dies You know, like you will get a shot, but with video, you sometimes like that might have been the only opportunity, and you can't fake that one. Like any other photo, you're like, dude, someone puts their hand in the way with a cell phone. You can still crop out shit, but like a video, you're like, bro, I needed that. Like no chance I could make this now. That was smart though.
Yeah,
that was good.
That's incredible. I mean, I would have panicked. There's no way.
You look like you're stressed thinking about it.
I mean,
he's fucking sweating right now, dude.
Because I mean, I was at a wedding there, and I mean, everything went smoothly. I mean, I don't know.
Sure.
I saw the photos; it looked good.
As far as you know.
As far as I know, but I see those people. Like you know, when you go to a wedding, you see the photographers. And I'm like, I just could never be just.
Do you want to be a second shooter?
No, I don't. The pressure.
Dude, come on, dude, try it once.
The pressure would be.
He knows these cameras like the back of his hand. Dude.
Oh,
for
sure.
sure.
I don't know shit about these cameras, dude. This guy comes in, turns them on, and I just sit here.
There you go.
I have no idea. But no, I mean, the pressure just is high. I mean, obviously, too, and like, you know, low stakes version of this, but when we come in here to record the podcast, like every now and then I look over at that button. And I know you do too, just to make sure that because we're 40 minutes in, it's like, that would suck if we like weren't like actually recording.
Right.
But that's not going to be that big of a deal. But on someone's wedding day, you know, like that's a huge thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was literally just editing wedding photos last night, and you know, thank God, whenever I go into wedding mode, I probably just black out, and I just take like so many photos. There's probably, I couldn't even tell you, there's probably like at least 10 to 15 like in a row that I was like looking at. I just out of focus. Like it focused on like a leaf behind their head. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like what the fuck? But then I like click like 10 more. I was like, okay, good. These are good. So like, so luckily, you know, like Call of Duty, like trigger finger, I was just
it's ripping
trigger happy. You know, it's like burst mode, but yeah, shit happens for sure.
So how often do you do weddings?
Yeah, every year is different. I think last year we had like between like 10 to 12, I think, something like that.
Okay. That's still a good amount. That's more than I would have expected you to say.
Yeah. But yeah, every year is different. A lot of people come to me from either from school or family referral. Occasionally we'll get like just a website inquiry, stuff like that. But a lot of it's just referral, people we know, stuff like that. So yeah, if you're looking, let me know. Or if you know anyone.
Yeah.
I've got a camera.
There we go. That's all you need.
He's getting married soon. Yeah.
Hey.
I am not actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What?
I'm not. I wanted to ask. So so obviously you have the wedding day, right? And then how long does it take you to do all the editing after the wedding itself?
So I'll answer that with a date that I did the other day. So I was editing the photos last night, and I think the wedding was October 21st.
Whoa.
So yeah, I have like, and I still have like 3,000 to go through. So I just got through one camera.
Yeah.
Last night. So yeah. And then like, I think that the worst part, and it's not their fault at all, because like they want to get their memories, their stuff like that, whatever. But the worst part is like, hey, any update? I'm like, guys,
they'll ask you like 3 days later.
Like, well, I've gotten the next day, I've gotten a week later, and then the worst part was, and I've had a groom's like mom, basically, because like she was like my former contact, and she was like, hey, where's the stuff? We're looking forward to it. I was like,
as if you like threw it away.
yeah. Well, it's tough because it's like, you know, I could either throw it into like an AI editor that will like hopefully do a good job and get it done in like a couple hours probably, or I could make sure it's perfect and do it myself. But it takes time, you know, because like I said, like I go like Call of Duty trigger finger. So there's so many photos that I have to call through, make sure that one's good. And then at some point I'm just kind of like, you know, copy this setting, paste that one there, export that one there. So it's a big process for sure. Like sometimes I'll like, that's honestly what I'm going to be doing like when I get back home today. So yeah.
That's what I was, so when you talk about the editing process by itself, like obviously you're removing the ones that are like not usable, right?
Yeah.
But then beyond that, with the ones that you are using, are you editing each photo individually as well in terms of like like what you're doing on it, like Instagram when you
Sure.
upload something, like is that all in play as well?
So yes and no. I mean, there will be times where like I'll have to just like remove stuff, like whether it's somebody with a phone in their hand or someone just looks kind of out of place in the background, and I'll just kind of edit out stuff like that.
Yeah.
More than likely, it's a lot of like copy this like photo editing setting. So it's fairly easy once you get into the process, but like once you get into the process, it's like very time consuming, very like, you kind of like spinning your tires at that point.
Yeah.
But once you find your preset, like I basically have like a big like wedding preset that I always use. And then like a lot of the weddings I shoot is like usually aperture priority. So like the shutter speed will go down, up and down, but your aperture will stay. So that means that basically if you took a shot over here as opposed to over here, the shutter speed is going to vary a little bit. So if I did the AI editor, it might not catch that exposure difference. So if this one has a little bit more sunlight, this one has a little bit less, I'm going to have to like adjust that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think they have tools that are like, it's like a speed editor or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what we have for
Yeah.
the podcast.
Right. So it definitely takes a little bit of time, like adjusting like little things here and there, but a lot of it is, copy the setting, paste this, export.
Yeah.
So it's just a big like
The old Lightroom cycle.
That sounds-
Exactly.
yeah, it
Do you use
sounds
the
like
Lightroom Classic still? Probably not.
No, I think I use.
Do they even have Lightroom Classic?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
But I use the cloud one or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still on the desktop, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever one's in the suite, I couldn't tell you, but it's
Yeah.
Lightroom.
The AI stuff seems to be like it does 95% of the work, but then there's that 5% that's like, I don't know, like it just doesn't catch, or like it edits in a weird way. Like I've noticed with like our short clips, like they're good, like it saves a ton of time, but the captions are like always wrong or something like that. Like it's always something small that it just doesn't, it's just not perfect, even though it can save you a ton of time.
Yeah. So it's the thing with AI that I find really interesting is like, yes, it's great for saving time, but the shit that makes me the most like kind of annoyed and like just irked at it is like when I have to go back, re-edit it, and it's like this is stupid. I might as well have just done it myself in the first time. So it's like it's good, but I feel like for myself, I only use it in like doses, right? Like I'll use it for like removing noise in a photo, or trying to match this to this, stuff like that. AI is really cool, but I don't rely on it for everything, because I know that there's some things that I'm gonna have to go back and edit anyway.
Well, that's just the thing though, is I feel like with it being put on this like pedestal that it is, like it should be perfect, and it's not.
Right.
So if you still have to go back and double check it, then like what's the point?
Right. Yeah. It's almost like you want to just give it like the bare bones, like just cut it for me, and then I'll do like the final touch.
Yeah.
So I think that's why a lot of people are leaning into the AI, because they think it's like, oh, it's like a one and done thing. It's like it does a really good job, but you still have to do your due diligence and make sure it looks good, and like make sure that like nobody has like a third arm growing out of them or some shit like that. Like it's an incredible tool, don't get me wrong, but it's I don't think it's going to replace the world.
No,
it'll definitely help for sure.
That's an interesting conversation too. I mean, I think there's plenty of people that say that it's gonna like take our jobs, and then there's people that say that it's gonna, like some actor just, I think it was Ben Affleck, just said something how like AI will never like overtake the movie industry, because it was something to do with like creativity is starting, but art is knowing when to stop. And I was like, oh, he's spitting.
I like
that's
that.
a good
Bars.
Shit,
It's a good way to
put
put
on
it.
a beat. Put on
Yeah.
a beat. Go, man. Go.
the piano over there.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it's gonna pop up everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
one of my friends texted me the other day and was like, yeah, I'm using ChatGPT to write my program in the gym. I was like,
Interesting.
oh, cool. And then he sent it to me and it was almost exactly what I would write.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very close.
Damn. See, for like that stuff though, like I think that stuff is okay because you can kind of train it to be like what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're basically using it for, just doing your entire work for you, I think that's like, all right, come on. Like,
Right.
like how much of your clientele, like, do you really care, like, to like add value to? But if you train it in a way that it's, basically you, but you're just like saving time, like, I don't know. I think like for you, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff that we do for, like if we're doing like short form content and stuff like that, I'll say, hey, here's questions that I would ask XYZ. Can you create some questions and content that would like, relate to this same style, stuff like that. So, it becomes like supplemental at that point.
Yeah.
So
that's something I haven't used it for. Is like, I should use it as just like generating ideas for short form content.
right.
Because I'll get like a random idea when I'm going to bed, and I'm like, all right, I got to write this down, or else I'm gonna forget about it. But I mean, there's no reason why I couldn't be like, give me 10 ideas for an Instagram reel.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just see what I like. But I don't think to use it, which I don't really mind because I don't want to rely on it too much. But at the same time, I feel like I could utilize it more.
I rely on it constantly.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
But here's the way that I view it, right? It's I don't think AI will replace people, because if you know how to manage AI systems, then you are not replaceable, because somebody will always have to manage them. So somebody will have to be an expert in prompt engineering. Somebody will have to be an expert in looking at footage and being able to like strategically say, okay, why isn't the AI doing what I needed it to? So then you figure that part out to then get it to do better. So then those tasks are easier. Like one nice thing that I want to try to build out, which like, this is like a little bit of a work in progress, trying to build an email system that will start drafting out emails when I get them for work. It's not necessarily for work, but just for anything. Because if you pull the API from everything you've ever emailed and sent, you can use that to say, hey, give me a good draft of an email back to this person, knowing their job title, mine, all the things we've talked about in the past for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Then you can make it be very predictable and say, draft it out for me. Then you go over and say, okay, cool. Like I can take a look, and it auto drafts, it gets it ready. And you're like, you wake up in the morning, you check your emails and they're drafted out as like good starting points. Like that's very helpful.
Oh yeah.
Hooking that up to like a task manager or like a Google like calendar. So it like kicks you out notification, like it knows how to tie people in. Like that's where it's helpful.
Right.
But you have to figure out how to engineer that. And like, that's the part that I'm like learning with generative AI, is like how to be a manager of generative AI for creative, but also like just like strategic marketing and hoping to implement that. So I think if people are smart, don't rely on it, but learn how to manage it, because that's like going to be a superpower.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's half the battle, because like, it's a great tool, but like managing it's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
But I have one funny thing that I want to show you guys that I think might make you laugh. So I was doing this video for this one client out in Ambridge, and they are like a big like tube maker for like steel and stuff like that. Like it's a worldwide brand. And she was like, hey, can you add captions? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we use DaVinci, and not to knock on DaVinci, captions are just ass.
Yeah.
Like
Really?
so bad. And like
that's
they
such
use
a simple thing.
you would think they would be, right? So I just want to preface this. The only thing that was said in this entire clip was it would be a trip hazard. So I just want you guys can take a look at this and read it, and just feel free to just read it into the mic and get a laugh.
I'll read it. Yeah. It would be a trip hazard. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say that this is the right place to move. I'm not going to say that it was on. Oh, okay. I'm not going to say right here. Yeah, it is. It's a nice little train. It is. Yeah, it's a nice little train. Where the fuck does that all come from? Is there
some like Bluetooth
Yeah.
headset on some dude talking in the next, like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I just thought there was it's a nice little train. All he said was it's a trip hazard. And then somehow, some way, it's a nice little train.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
I couldn't even. I mean, granted, it was like a big like steel factory thing we were working with.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like some sounds were like thrown in
the background. Yeah. Yeah.
But as soon as it generated, I was like, what is that?
That's hilarious. Yeah,
like,
don't always trust it. Yeah, there you go. There's
Yeah.
a prime example because that was probably been used with DaVinci for at least a little bit. But like, I mean, Adobe's been pretty bulletproof with it.
Yeah.
And you know, in terms of like some of why I don't necessarily care about our short clips with the incorrect information coming up is because people engage with it.
Yeah.
You spelled this word wrong. I'm
Right.
like,
That's true.
comment just went up. Thank you
Yeah.
again. Or this didn't make sense. I'm like, comment just went up again. 2 brownie points
that is
in the
true.
first 20 minutes. That's funny. I'm glad I kept this mistake that I didn't even make.
You
know?
almost
That's
need to
funny.
like train the AI or like the caption, be like in the instructions, leave like 5 mistakes throughout
Yeah.
this entire thing, just so we have.
Yeah.
something.
You see that all the time. Like Instagram Reels, someone will like make an egregious typo and then it's just their shit blows up because
Yeah.
everyone's telling them they can't spell.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, well, it got 1 million views. Like, who cares?
right.
You know, because I spelled, can't wrong.
Or
like,
calves,
Yeah.
like nice calves, dude.
Yeah. I get that all the time.
Yeah. Of course.
No, I don't actually. I actually got torched on YouTube Shorts because
I know that's what I was referencing.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You know exactly. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know that's what
Wait,
you
you
were talking
got
about.
for your cats?
I posted a. I don't know if that might have been on Instagram or YouTube or what.
It was a YouTube
It was
short.
YouTube
That was
short.
like a calf workout or something like that.
I think I was doing curls, but the angle was from the side.
Oh.
And all the comments were like, "This dude has never hit legs in his life."
Yeah.
That's
which
hilarious.
is like the opposite.
'Cause you're the opposite of
Yeah,
that.
exactly the opposite. But like the angle, like to this day, like it's pretty bad. Like how small my legs look. So
Hey,
it
you
happens.
gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you're right.
dude, if you didn't hit legs to that point, it's all good.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I mean,
you don't have to lie to
the
me.
truth comes out now. That'll be the title of this episode.
Yeah.
The truth comes out. Will Marshall skips leg day.
There you go.
Oh shit.
Nothing
Oh,
about
God.
drones or AI.
It's a new
or
shirt that I'm gonna get you for
photography or anything.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Will
Marshall skips leg day.
That'd be cool.
I'd wear that.
Yeah.
Can I
Hey,
put your face on it, like screen printed?
honestly, I think
His
it'd be-
calf.
That would be kind of
Just
sick.
calf.
Yeah.
With
But what
like
the
a little
fuck is
baby
that?
cow.
What the-
Yeah, there's just like a little baby cow on it, just eating grass. You're like, who's that? He's like, that's Will Marshall.
It's
Yeah.
a conversation starter. It's like, why is there a baby cow? It's like,
Hey.
well, it's Will because he skips the calves.
It's a good start. Remember, creativity is starting and art is knowing when to stop. So
There you
Freaking
go.
AI couldn't have found that joke. You know what I mean?
no
So,
way.
yeah.
No way. There's too many intricacies there. Yeah. But so what's happening with Steel City Visuals in 2025? What's the goals? Where we taking it?
Yeah. So you have to cut that out there.
AI.
Oh, excuse me.
Gotta
Excuse
rely
me.
on AI to do that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I think with the business this year, what we really want to do is create, like retainer partnerships with as many people as we possibly can. I think conservatively, I want to shoot for like 5 to 7, retainers, whether it be with business owners, corporations, real estate clientele, stuff like that. But I want to create something that, number one, makes sense, and number two, gives them a lot of value as well. So, it might not be like the most glamorous thing in the world where it's like, oh, like $20,000 a month, anything like that. But like, if we're able to help these people, look good, sell more content, products, FaceTime, anything like that, I think that's what would make me feel good. Just to know that like we're able to help elevate people's businesses and social statuses, stuff like that. So that's what I really want to like strive for, is like creating those partnerships. Even Marshall Fitness, whatever, if there's like budgets or anything, because like I want to work with people that will see value in it.
Mhm.
Right? So, and I think that's what I've slowly found out is like, if we're not working with like a big corporation or like a big company with like huge budgets, like hitting them with like a half day rate, it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So if we can do stuff that's like a big partnership where we help bring value to people and help them move along, like that's one thing that I really want to focus on for 25, as well as just shooting a lot of like cool like real estate content. I mean, we're really good at that. So Yeah, just
Big things.
Yeah, big things. So it's an easy goal, I think, but I think more directed is what I'm finally like realizing. So
Yeah, just got to keep showing up. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
doing what you've done, just more of it.
right,
In
exactly.
better ways, which is what it always is every single year anyway. You know,
Yeah.
just finding ways to get a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think I mean, this is like knock on wood here. I would like to open like a creative studio, and then year 25, call it the Forge, by Steel City Visuals. Do you guys know what Forge is?
Like as in from like a steel mill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like the Forge is like where raw materials come together to create the steel. So basically,
Hell yeah.
like yeah,
I like that.
hmm
Yeah.
So it'd be like the Forge by Steel City Visuals, where raw materials come together to create something amazing or extravagant, something like that. So, not saying it will happen, but maybe.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff to figure out. You know, costs, different stuff like that, like locations, like what to offer, what's valuable to people. But I've got the name.
Yeah.
So that's the
starting point.
That's the starting point.
Yeah.
So
Oh, awesome.
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Where can people find Steel City Visuals?
Yeah, people can find Steel City Visuals on Instagram, just all one word, Steel City Visuals. On TikTok, Steel City Visuals with an underscore. Some local joker stole our name, so we had to put an underscore
Yeah.
after that. They just post like Steelers and like Pirates content.
Of course they do.
And I was like, hey, can I have the names? Like, no.
No.
Sweet. And then Facebook, same thing. Website, steelcityvisuals.com. And then my Instagram is just Kyle_Jennings, and rock and roll.
There we go.
There we go.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Of course. Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah, we hit some topics we don't usually hit. So
Hell yeah, that's
This
awesome.
was good. I mean, we covered some ground, I think. for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Well, all the best to you and Steel City Visuals in 2025, and obviously we'll talk to you. We'll keep in touch.
Sounds great.
If you made it this far, be sure to give us a like, follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, check out our previous episodes, and we'll see you on the next one.